Hi, I'm Lee from louleigh.com and this is my podcast about my handmade life. You can find me on Instagram as louleigh_ and on Ravelry as louleigh, and I have an Etsy shop called Shop Louleigh where I sell knitting bags and needle cases, and you can find links to all of my online places at louleigh.com. Welcome. It's so nice to be having a little chat with you. I'm super excited today because tomorrow I am going to Edinburgh for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which will start on Thursday, and so that's going to be really fun. And so today I'm surrounded by laundry because clearly there are chores that need to be done before I abandon ship here and desert my hairy friends and head off for a few days. So yeah, but the first thing that I have to talk about, of course, is community news. And we have had the Tiny Owls knit along come to an end. The Tiny Owls was a collection of patterns that I put out at the end of last year, and we had a knit along that ended at the end of February. And Susie Sue won one of my new Notions cases. So that was really exciting. I have popped that out in the post. You should be getting it very soon. The other thing that is coming to an end on Thursday when Edinburgh Yarn Festival starts is Knit 1000 Grams 2017. Which is sort of a knit along that we do over the winter to try and use up some of our stash before all the festivals start in the spring again. So I will be drawing a winner for that on the 15th, and then I'm going to go and have a little shopping trip for that person at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I think that will be super fun and I'm really looking forward to it. Last year when I did it, I had a little poke through the winners' sort of project page and stash to get an idea of what sort of things that they liked. So hopefully I sent off something that they really enjoyed. That that person enjoyed. So if you do see this before the closing date on the 15th, you should do. I should get it up today. Mind you might not watch it for a week, so... Anyway, if you do see it before, make sure you pop over and update your project sort of tally of what you've done. So I'm really looking forward to drawing that one. And the last thing I think I have to talk about is the meetup that I had planned. This is just a really casual thing. If you're around on Friday morning, the 16th of March, twiddling your thumbs and wondering what to do between 9 AM and about noon, then pop into Rabbi's Cafe and have a coffee with me. I just thought that festivals can be a really sort of busy, noisy, intense sort of a place, and sometimes you only get to have a passing chat with people. And so if you can join me, it would be really nice to actually sit down and spend some time with you. That would be awesome. So the other thing that I wanted to mention, which is sort of community news, is that Brit Yarn is closing down at the end of the month, which is super sad. And because Isla has delivered such a lovely shop and online shopping experience for the last few years, and so I just wanted to wish you all the best for your future endeavours, and we will miss you and Ethel in the British knitting community. So this week I only actually have two projects to talk about, because if you follow me on Instagram you will know that I have been knitting Carbeth rather obsessively. And of course I am sporting my Carbeth today, and hopefully I can, you've probably seen this on Instagram if you follow me there, but hopefully I can insert a little video here of me jiggling around in my freshly finished Carbeth. I had actually just, without walking the dogs, and I had just shoved my phone into a hedgerow. So if anybody had seen me jiggling around in front of a bush, it would have just looked mightily weird. But anyway, so jiggling around now. But there are a few things that I think I did it quite differently. Well, not massively differently. I did a few things differently from the pattern, so I thought I would talk about those. I'm just looking at my notes down here. I really enjoyed the pattern actually. It was a super simple knit. There are fewer techniques in knitting Carbeth than there are in a pair of socks. It's really easy to adjust the length to fit you so that it doesn't have to be cropped, but it can still sit in a nice place that's flattering on you. And so if you're thinking about knitting this as your first garment, then I would say go for it. The other nice thing is that it is in a chunky weight yarn. And so it does go really quickly. The downside of that is that, well, we live in quite a mild climate and it's about 10 degrees here today and I'm a little bit warm. So it's definitely a cold weather garment. Well, I suppose I also knitted it in Elephos, I think that's how you say it, Elephos louleigh. Do I still have the tag around here? Stand by, it's over here somewhere. Here we go. Yeah, so we'll start with that. I knitted it in Elephos louleigh, which is a chunky weight yarn. It says here that you get 100 meters to 100 grams, and it's just got it was something like heathered wheat or something, this colour. But anyway, yeah, and I got this from Meadow Yarn, and then basically cast it on and started knitting. I used a different cast on. I don't think she recommends one in the pattern, I'm not sure. But, let me hold this up here and then focus it. So this is the alternate cable cast on for 2x2 rib. And I hope you can see how it looks as if the stitches are kind of rolling over the edge. It gives the effect of a tubular cast on, but it's just a lot easier to do. And Woolly Wormhead has a really good tutorial on how to do this on her website. It's so easy and I just think that it looks so nice that it's worth learning to do. And once you've done it once, you remember it, and it's so easy to do on anything that requires a 2x2 rib cast on. And as I say, I really like the finish of it. So I think it's one of those really simple techniques that just elevates your knitting. Yeah, so if you haven't tried it, give it a go. Basically, I didn't do a swatch, I just cast on the sleeves and kind of accepted that I might have to rip them out. Fortunately, I didn't. I think I cast on a 6mm needle and I pretty much got gauge with that. So that worked out quite well, but the sleeves did knit up quite quickly. And then I just washed the first sleeve and rechecked my gauge, and that worked out really well. So I don't think you really need to do a gauge swatch with this, as long as you're prepared to do, I mean, if you got up to the elbow here, you would have enough of a swatch to measure. As long as you're prepared to knit that far and then rip it out, I mean, that's a few hours knitting for me, then yeah, it would make a really good gauge swatch. And I washed and dried it while I was knitting the other sleeve. I suppose if it hadn't worked out, I would have had to rip out both. But hey ho, it didn't. It all went well. So yeah, I started with the sleeves. I think the pattern says to start with the body. But anyway, sleeves make a good gauge swatch. Do that. I did a couple of things differently because I want to be able to check the length before I actually did all the finishing on the garment. I had a fair idea of how long I wanted it to be because I had measured some of the tops that I have in my wardrobe and I wanted it to be the same length as that. But just to be sure, I started the body with a provisional cast on and went straight into the stocking stitch and just knit it up. and then went back and knitted the rib at the end. As it turned out, my measurements had actually been pretty accurate, and I did have to undo a little bit of the stocking stitch before I added on the rib, but that turned out quite well because I got it exactly in the place that I wanted it to be without too much trouble, without that horrible feeling at the end when you put it on and realise that it doesn't even cover your belly button. I did a similar thing with the sleeves as well, and that was partly because the sleeve measurement is given to the armpit, and it's designed to be a loose fitting garment, and so where the armpit is going to be is kind of arbitrary, really. So I knitted the sleeves, and then I kept them on holders, and then I didn't join them in when I started on the yoke. I did another provisional cast on, and I knitted the body and the yoke and the neck, and then I realised that I was going to need an extra about 3 centimetres on the sleeves, and so I added that on and then grafted the sleeves onto the body, and that worked out really well. I think had I had the hairy man at home, to be able to do a good body measurement from here to my wrist, then I might not have needed to do that. I probably could have got that measurement a little more accurately. I also did my first bit splicing. I found a tutorial online by I'm going to say this, I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, by Raga Eriksdotter. I'll put a link in the show notes. And I realised that previously when I had tried this, I'd been doing it wrong. So it was a really simple tutorial, and I think it helped that Alaphos Loopy is a chunky 2-ply yarn, so it was easy to practice on. It was kind of a big yarn to do it to. Yeah, so I had no ends to weave in at the end, and you can't see where I've done my joins at all, so that worked out really well. Unfortunately, the hairy man has just decided to stumble out of bed and have a shower. So you can hear my water tank just in here filling up now. Yeah, so the last thing that I did, hello little dog, can you see just his fluffy head there? Typical. Hi! The last thing that I did on the Carbeth was that I did a, what did I do? I did a tubular cast off on the neck, just to match the alternate cable cast on that I had done on the arms, because I really like the look of that. And all I do is to, there are lots of YouTube videos that will show you how to, it's a sew-in cast off, and they'll show you how to do it without rearranging the stitches on your needles or anything. But I can never remember it, and it always seems like a faff to go onto YouTube and look it up every time I want to do it. And so all I do is I rearrange the knits and the purls so that they're on separate needles, and then I just Kitchener stitch all the way around, and I really like the effect that gives. It gives that nice rolled edge as if the stitches are going over the edge again. Yeah, so that was my Carbeth experience. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy wearing it, and if you're thinking of knitting this, then go for it. I think the pattern is almost worth buying for the beautiful photography, but that's a whole other thing. Oh, I did want to say a couple of things about the yarn as well. There are some comments on Ravelry about sort of the texture of it and that sort of thing. I am finding that it's prickly. However, I was raised by sheep, so that's not you know, that's not something that bothers me. But yes, it is a prickly yarn. I'm finding that when I have a t-shirt underneath, it's okay, but I can feel it just around my neck here, even when I have the neck rolled down. Some people commented that it shed a lot of hair as they knitted it, and I didn't find that. There was a little bit of shedding, but nothing that I would have thought was worthy of note or comment. I've decided not to resist the dog today and just let him stay. So you'll just get this little white cloud and maybe a bit of nose or something here. So I had finished Carbeth and was all very excited about going to Edinburgh, and was thinking about packing, and I can never be bothered to pack my house shoes because they just seem so big and bulky to take with me just for a few days, you know. And so I decided to knit myself a pair of slippers. So I'm just using the simple house slipper pattern, and I have finished one already. That's not it. Where has it gone? Just here. I haven't made any adjustments to the pattern. It's sort of like a one size fits all job, and I have a size 7 UK foot, which is just a little larger than average. I'm using an Aran weight yarn and knitting it on a 4mm needle because I wanted the fabric to be very dense, and I'm getting a gauge of 20 stitches over 10 centimetres. So it is a little dense for an Aran yarn. As I said, other than that, I followed the directions in the pattern exactly. I haven't sewn up the back here, but I did just pop this onto my foot, and I think I'm going to do the second one exactly the same. But if I was starting again from scratch, I would probably do a little more garter stitch at this end just to make the opening a little larger. These have a good amount of negative ease on me, so they're still fitting nicely, but I might add, if I were going to do it again, I might add a stitch or two for over the entire circumference, just so they didn't have quite so much negative ease. But yeah, other than that, I think they're coming out really well. I really like the way that the decreases on the toe are done. It's just really neat and just a little thoughtful. It's not like someone's just said do a whole lot of knit two togethers. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. Yeah, so I hope to finish the other one on the train on the way to Edinburgh tomorrow, or maybe this evening. It's one of those patterns where it says, oh, you can knit one of these in an evening. And sometimes if you can't knit one in an evening, you start to feel bad about yourself. So I thought I would share that I can't knit one of these in an evening, and if you can't either, it's okay. Yeah, so I'm going to try and finish the other one on the way to Edinburgh tomorrow. I am using a Yorkshire yarn. Just get the label out here. And this is from the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust. I learned about this on the Fruity Knitting podcast, and one of the people that they actually interviewed when they were talking about this yarn, I forget which episode it was a lady who is in our Spinning Weavers and Dyers Guild. So that was really fun to meet her and have a little chat about the yarn. They have a flock of Hebridean sheep that they use for conservation grazing. Yeah, and so when they shear them, they make up this yarn, and it's local to me, so I thought I would buy a couple of balls and try it out. I'm knitting it, of course I'm knitting it at the gauge that I'm knitting at is probably not recommended for an Aran yarn, and so the texture of the fabric that I'm getting is probably not a good indication of what this would be like in a garment. But yeah, it's just fun to give it a go. And next time when I come back, I'll be able to report how this stands up to a little bit of wear. I've done a bit of a quick change because I wanted to talk to you about the sample of yarn that Blacker sent out to podcasters who are involved in the Podcaster Lounge. They have just released their new Jacob Breeds yarn, and I am super excited about this because I'm wearing my custom fit cardigan, which I made out of Blacker Jacob yarn, and I bought this at Wonderwool the very first time I came across Blacker yarns. I had never heard of them before. I wasn't terribly familiar with British Breeds yarns, and so when I got there and discovered their booth, it was really exciting. Sue Blacker was actually manning the booth that day, and this was one of two sweater quantities of yarn that I bought, and I've really enjoyed doing it. To me, it has this yarn has a rough hand and it's a little prickly, but it's not pulling and it's hard wearing, and the garment just, even though I wear it quite a lot, it still looks really nice. So I'm excited to try out the new yarn. I've got some samples to knit up, and then of course I'll come back to you next time with a review about that. You can still hear my water tank filling. This is not a professional production. Anyway, it's been so nice to sit and chat with you. If you're coming to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, it would be great to meet you and say hello. And I shall see you next time. Cheerio!